let's talk about anxiety as it relates to art. Because that is a very relevant topic.
Oh, God. Mess sludge.
Art making makes me anxious. Especially painting. Like I'm staring at a big blank canvas. I'm always afraid that I'm just gonna fuck it up.
I always figure that the worst thing you can do is leave it bare.
I definitely agree with that, but it's very difficult to, I guess, take your own advice, you know? Inertia is a big thing for me. If I just make myself sit down and start, I can keep going. But it's that making myself start, like your daily habits that you were cultivating.
Right.
But then once I get started, and I want to really get into it, at our house right now, there's 6 people. It's very broken and interrupted time. And I don't even have a lock on the door, so. But in Art and Fear, they talked about inertia being driven by fear. Why are you procrastinating? Why aren't you working on it if you actually have time to do it? And a lot of it is just because we're afraid of making it wrong or doing it wrong. And that would be the realization of, hey, this is the idea that we have in the concept. And if you don't do it, you can always say, I had this concept and I could have done it. But then if you do it, you've made a commitment. And this is the result of your commitment.
Mm-hmm.
That's anxiety inducing.
I do a lot of stuff that requires multiple layers of things. And sometimes you do a layer and it's great, and you're like, but I could push it and do one more, and it could be phenomenal. And you completely fuck it up. That happens. But it's the times when it does work, it's so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, definitely.
I think you have to accept a certain amount of failure.
Absolutely. I told Nola, I said, for every, I do photography, I said, for every good picture I take, I took hundreds of shitty ones. I said I did photography for years until I even got a picture that I liked as passable. But if you don't take all the shitty pictures, and if you don't make all the crappy art, you'll never make the good art. Mm-hmm. So you just have to be okay making bad art. And I consider it a happy accident if it turns out you like what you did. Because it's not just, you have to accept the failure, you have to accept the fact that even if it's technically a win, you might not like it. Or you might nitpick it apart. You have to be comfortable with not always being happy with your own results.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not a failure, you're just like, I could have done better. You just have to get past that.
The only time you get better is when you learn that you did something wrong. In my opinion. And you have to absolutely be viscerally in the materials to do that. You have to be making things, and you have to be fucking up. Every time you fuck up, you're getting closer to doing something well.
That's definitely true, and I think if you get in there with the materials, it also helps you pinpoint what you are fucking up. And if your problem is, if you're working with oils and you don't have a good handle on how to mix the paint or thin it properly, or, you can hone in on things that cause something to screw up. And you can work on that. It's just like working or learning any learning any skill requires learning 1,000 minor skills. So learning to paint well means learning how to properly do an underpainting, or learning the materials. We can hone in on those tiny little details of things that can make a big difference. And you can learn anything on YouTube, but you'll never know what those little things are if you don't get it out in your work.
Mm-hmm.